We've spent 14 years living this life. And somehow, the last 5 felt like 2 decades. Those words hung in the air as Richard Rawlings stood inside a courtroom on a chilly September morning, wearing the same confident expression that had made him famous on Fast and Loud. But then the judge delivered the sentence, and the confidence disappeared. His body suddenly gave way. The man who had built a massive automotive empire by turning forgotten Mustangs into high-priced machines and boasting about million-dollar deals stumbled against the courtroom rail as cameras flashed around him. In that instant, the image of the fearless car king began to crumble. According to the story being told, the empire everyone admired had a hidden side, and what came to light was disturbing enough to leave an entire courtroom frozen in silence. As security officers stepped forward, Rawlings was escorted away with his head lowered. The man who once appeared untouchable on television was suddenly being portrayed as a figure facing serious consequences. But what could possibly have taken Richard Rawlings from the glamorous world of custom cars and television fame to a courtroom filled with tension? To understand that fall, you have to go back to the beginning, long before the cameras, the fame, and the gas monkey empire. The king of cars. The Texas heat was already pressing down when a much younger Richard Rawlings stepped inside an aging garage tucked away on an unremarkable street. Around him were battered frames, dusty parts, and vehicles that most people would have considered worthless. Rawlings saw something completely different. To him, those forgotten machines weren't junk. They were opportunities waiting for someone bold enough to take the risk. That vision would eventually become the foundation of Gas Monkey Garage. Fans of Fast and Loud remember the familiar scenes. Rawlings standing over roaring engines, making phone calls with complete confidence, negotiating deals while his crew raced against impossible deadlines. Every episode seemed to capture the same formula. Find an old car, transform it into something extraordinary, and somehow turn the finished project into a serious payday. It looked like the American dream with an engine attached. The cameras captured every polished detail, while loud music and fast editing made the entire process feel like one giant adrenaline rush. We barely had any seat time. We just finished our car, same as you. But Richard Rawlings had been chasing the car business long before television discovered him. Born in 1969, he had already spent years buying, selling, and flipping vehicles, eventually claiming that he had moved thousands of cars throughout his career. The money and momentum allowed him to expand beyond garages and dealerships. Soon, restaurants, bars, and eventually a live music venue became part of the growing Gas Monkey universe. What started with cars was turning into something much bigger. By the time Fast and Loud premiered in 2012, audiences were ready. For nearly a decade, viewers watched as forgotten rust-covered vehicles were transformed into stunning machines that could command 6-figure prices. Richard became the center of it all, shaking hands, making deals, lighting cigars, and driving away in cars loud enough to turn heads from blocks away. At its height, Fast and Loud had become one of Discovery Channel's biggest automotive attractions. Millions of viewers tuned in, including plenty of people who couldn't tell a carburetor from a crankshaft. They weren't necessarily watching because they understood every mechanical detail. They were watching because Richard made winning look effortless, and he knew exactly how to play the role. Flashy shirts, classic Mustangs, big deals, bigger confidence. Richard Rawlings presented himself as the ultimate symbol of the modern American car hustle, a man who seemed to believe every obstacle could be beaten with enough speed, money, and determination. Gas Monkey Garage continued expanding, and the brand became impossible to ignore. His social media was filled with private jets, celebrity encounters, packed car shows, and fans proudly wearing the Gas Monkey name. The brand stretched far beyond the garage, appearing on merchandise, beverages, restaurants, and other ventures. Partnerships with major automotive companies and appearances at major industry events helped cement Richard's status as one of the most recognizable faces in the car world. The message was simple: work hard, take risks, move fast, and maybe one day, you could live the same wild life. Richard had turned the dangerous, unpredictable business of flipping cars into a glamorous fantasy filled with money, fame, beer, and roaring engines. But behind the television magic was another reality. His employees faced exhausting hours. Deadlines became pressure cookers. Builds had to be completed before the cameras moved on. And much of that chaos never made it into the final episode. Because television only showed one version of Richard Rawlings. You saw the celebrations, the high fives, the last-second negotiations, the massive parties inside the garage. You saw a businessman who always seemed to land on his feet. But away from the cameras, behind the polished image and the roaring engines, there was another side of the story. And the question that would eventually begin haunting his empire was simple. Did the audience ever really know the man behind the gas monkey name? The post-Fast and Loud chapter of Richard Rawlings' life looked very different from the world fans had watched on television. When the show finally came to an end in 2020, the massive spotlight that had surrounded Gas Monkey began to fade. The Gas Monkey bar and grill shut its doors, the constant buzz surrounding the brand became quieter, and Richard appeared to be searching for a new direction. He moved toward YouTube, explored fresh business ideas, and continued working on automotive projects, but somehow, the same electricity that had once made Fast and Loud such a sensation was missing. Richard hadn't disappeared. He was still buying cars, building projects, and making bold statements, but the cameras were no longer there to create the same sense of excitement. And without the television show acting as a shield, public scrutiny began to grow. Former fans started looking more closely at the world behind the entertainment. They began questioning how much of what they had watched was authentic. How were the deals actually negotiated? Were every one of those high-pressure builds really as reliable as they appeared on television? And what happened when a project went wrong? Online discussions began filling with rumors about unpaid obligations, difficult business relationships, and deals that allegedly hadn't ended as smoothly as they looked on screen. None of these conversations alone could explain the full picture, but together, they created something dangerous for a celebrity whose entire reputation had been built around being the man who could never lose. Then came the rumor that sent the internet into overdrive. Videos began appearing across TikTok and YouTube Shorts claiming that Richard Rawlings had been sentenced over an alleged Mustang scandal. The story spread rapidly, fueled by dramatic thumbnails and sensational headlines. But there was one major problem. It never actually happened. There was no confirmed courtroom sentence matching the viral claims. No proven Mustang scandal that resulted in Richard being sent away. The story was fiction, but it sounded believable to millions because, over the years, the line between Richard's larger-than-life television character and the real challenges of running a massive automotive business had become increasingly blurred. Richard had spent years selling audiences on the idea that an old rusted car could become a fortune with enough vision and determination. But the real automotive business isn't nearly as glamorous. Behind every major flip are invoices, taxes, registration requirements, contracts, insurance, and endless legal paperwork. Those details don't make exciting television, but they can determine whether a business survives. So how did the internet transform America's famous car entrepreneur into a man supposedly wanted by the law? The answer wasn't a dramatic arrest. It was something much more ordinary. A financial review. The unraveling. According to the fictional scenario spreading online, the trouble supposedly began when a tax audit placed Richard Rawlings' business records under intense examination. In the spring of 2023, an investigator allegedly opened a file carrying the name of one of America's most recognizable automotive personalities. From the outside, Rawlings appeared to have everything under control. His public image was built around success, expensive flips, massive builds, roaring engines, and crowds chanting the Gas Monkey name. I don't even have a drag racing license. And getting into a 3,000 horsepower car without track time or proper seat time is a completely different story. But in this imagined version of events, the financial documents supposedly told a very different story. One particular expense connected to restoration components allegedly caught someone's attention. The numbers appeared unusually neat, while the paperwork surrounding the sale of a custom Mustang contained a strange inconsistency. Buried among the vehicle identification details was a VIN that didn't seem to match. At first, it could have been nothing more than a clerical mistake. Maybe a single character had been entered incorrectly. Maybe one number had simply been reversed. But the story claimed that when the identification number was checked against official databases, something unexpected appeared. The VIN couldn't be found. The vehicle, at least according to the database, didn't exist. That discovery supposedly transformed a routine paperwork issue into something far more complicated. The Mustang at the center of the rumor had allegedly been presented as an extremely rare custom build, finished in a striking metallic blue. It had appeared at car shows where fans surrounded it with cameras and smartphones. Photos were posted online, and the vehicle was reportedly promoted as a major six-figure achievement. In the videos circulating online, Richard appeared behind the wheel, revving the engine and confidently presenting the car as the kind of build capable of commanding an enormous auction price. But behind those glamorous images, the fictional story claimed that investigators began digging deeper. Vehicle records were allegedly compared with state registration databases. Federal information was supposedly reviewed alongside transportation records. Sales documents were examined against restoration claims. And according to the rumor, The deeper the investigation went, the more inconsistencies appeared. Some vehicles supposedly lacked expected emissions documentation. Others allegedly had no clear record of registration fees. Certain restoration expenses reportedly appeared as business deductions, yet the receipts supposedly didn't correspond with the cars shown in promotional videos. Then came another alleged piece of evidence. A casual shop video uploaded to Richard's own YouTube channel reportedly showed the famous blue Mustang sitting beneath bright workshop lights. The paint looked flawless. The body appeared immaculate. The engine was presented as a masterpiece. To the audience, it looked like another Gas Monkey success story. But if the viral rumor were to be believed, investigators weren't looking at the car as fans did. They were looking at paperwork. And sometimes, the most dangerous secrets aren't hidden inside the engine. They are hidden inside the documents. In the background of one seemingly harmless shop video, Richard Rawlings could be seen joking with his crew while mechanics moved around him, preparing the next big project. The camera swept across shelves filled with engine components and unfinished parts, capturing the familiar chaos fans had come to associate with Gas Monkey Garage. But according to the fictional story spreading online, investigators later slowed down that footage and noticed something hidden in plain sight. A VIN plate visible for only a few seconds allegedly failed to match the restoration documents connected to the vehicle. What appeared to be an ordinary Mustang suddenly became the first thread in a much larger mystery. The deeper investigators supposedly looked, the stranger the story became. The car was allegedly constructed around a salvaged shell, yet its paperwork had reportedly been registered under another title, raising questions about inspections, fees, and the vehicle's true history. The Mustang had once been celebrated as another stunning achievement in Richard's automotive empire. Now, according to the rumor, it had become the piece that threatened to pull everything apart. The fictional investigation then expanded beyond one vehicle. Federal authorities were allegedly examining financial records connected to Gas Monkey businesses, including tax deductions, merchandise revenue, television-related income, and money earned through appearances and international automotive events. Transactions involving overseas auctions and private collectors reportedly attracted additional attention. Investigators supposedly wanted to know whether every sale had been properly documented and whether the necessary customs and export declarations had been completed. The story claimed that years of automotive transactions were being reconstructed one by one. Every vehicle sale, every transfer, every invoice, every social media post showing a visible VIN or license plate. Investigators allegedly compared footage from YouTube videos, television episodes, and Instagram clips with financial records submitted by Rawlings companies. What supposedly began as a routine examination had now transformed into a much broader investigation. The man famous for turning forgotten rust buckets into valuable collector cars was suddenly facing a world where every missing document could raise another question. But the most shocking part of the rumor was still ahead. The secret room. According to the fictional narrative, investigators eventually focused their attention on an area inside the Dallas warehouse that employees supposedly referred to as the cage. To ordinary visitors, it looked like nothing more than a storage section packed with old body panels, carburetors, wheels, and dusty crates. But behind what was allegedly a concealed wall, authorities supposedly discovered a hidden workspace. The story claimed that agents entered the area with a warrant and found specialized equipment, blank identification plates, and documents containing vehicle information. Ledgers allegedly listed details about different cars and their supposed identities. If true, this would have been far beyond ordinary restoration work. The rumor suggested that damaged or questionable vehicles were being given new identities before being presented as valuable classics. Former employees were allegedly questioned, with some claiming they had been instructed to replace old identification plates without asking too many questions. Others supposedly described private cash transactions that took place away from the public eye. Even more unsettling were old videos from Richard's own channel. In one alleged clip, viewers could supposedly spot a locked doorway in the background while Richard joked about projects that couldn't yet be revealed. At the time, fans may have seen nothing unusual. But according to the story, investigators believed those brief glimpses could have been hiding something much bigger. And if that secret room truly existed, the biggest question wasn't what was inside it. It was who knew about it. For years, viewers believed the locked room was simply another secret project space inside Gas Monkey Garage. But according to the fictional story spreading online, investigators allegedly noticed something different. The reinforced hinges and keypad entry reportedly matched details previously captured in photographs provided by supposed whistleblowers. What they discovered next was said to be far larger than anyone imagined. The rumor claimed that dozens of vehicles had moved through the hidden operation, generating millions in profits while remaining completely outside the public eye. This was the moment the story supposedly changed everything. Federal investigators were no longer looking at one questionable Mustang. They were allegedly examining an entire system built around trust, celebrity, and the enormous reputation of the Gas Monkey name. Then came the betrayal. A European collector had spent years searching for an authentic Shelby GT500 and believed he had finally found it. Richard allegedly presented the gleaming silver machine himself, describing its history and showing off its immaculate engine bay. The collector trusted the reputation behind the Gas Monkey brand and reportedly paid more than $1 million for what he believed was a genuine piece of American automotive history. But when he attempted to register the vehicle overseas, authorities allegedly discovered inconsistencies in the paperwork. The VIN reportedly raised questions, and the documents were flagged. What followed was supposedly the final turning point. The collector allegedly handed investigators emails, receipts, and private messages that exposed information previously hidden from public view. Suddenly, the very trust Richard had spent years building became the weapon that could destroy him. And at the center of it all was the television show that made him famous. Fast and Loud had transformed Richard into a household name. Millions watched him uncover rare cars, negotiate deals, and present spectacular builds under bright studio lights. But according to the fictional narrative, the show also created something far more powerful than entertainment. It created credibility. Every episode made the Gas Monkey brand appear authentic. Every restored Mustang became advertising. Every dramatic reveal encouraged viewers to believe that anything carrying the Gas Monkey name was valuable and legitimate. Then, allegedly, the entire image collapsed. A single collector's complaint reportedly triggered a wave of scrutiny. Online communities began examining old episodes, comparing VIN numbers, auction photographs, and restoration records. Sponsors allegedly backed away. Auction houses reportedly questioned vehicles connected to the brand. And collectors suddenly began checking their own cars, searching for mismatched stamps and suspicious paperwork. The empire that had taken years to build was now facing its biggest nightmare. The cameras were gone, and for the first time, everyone was looking at what they had never been shown. If you think Richard Rawlings' story ends here, think again. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and stay with us as we uncover the shocking details behind the Gas Monkey mystery.